The transport ship Harmony glided through the purple clouds surrounding Viridian Prime. Ben Torres pressed his face against the viewport, watching the crystalline spires of the Zephyrian capital city grow larger below. After 3 months of travel through hyperspace, he was finally here for the most important diplomatic mission in human history. First contact with the Zephyrian Empire, Ben whispered to himself. No pressure at all. Captain Rosa Chin approached from behind. Nervous? Ben turned around and smiled. Excited. This could change everything for humanity. The Zephyrians have been isolated for over 400 years. If we can build a relationship with them, imagine what we might learn. The Galactic Council has tried to contact them dozens of times, Rosa said. What makes you think humans can succeed where others failed? Because we listen, Ben replied. Really listen. Not just to words, but to what people need and want. That's what makes us good diplomats. The ship touched down on a landing platform made of smooth green crystal. Through the windows, Ben could see hundreds of Zephyrian citizens gathered to watch. They looked like giant praying mantises, but their movements were graceful and deliberate. Their large compound eyes reflected the sunlight like jewels. Ben checked his universal translator one more time. The small device hung around his neck on a simple silver chain. It had taken years to program it with the limited Zephyrian language samples the Galactic Council had collected from old broadcasts. Remember, Rosa said as they prepared to disembark, Queen Kira agreed to this meeting personally. She's never spoken to any off-world species before. Be respectful, be patient, and don't take anything personally if she seems distant. Ben nodded. Understood, Captain. The airlock opened, and Ben stepped onto Viridian Prime. The air smelled like flowers and rain. A group of tall Zephyrian guards waited for him, their ceremonial armor gleaming in the afternoon light. Their leader, distinguished by golden markings on his carapace, stepped forward. Human diplomat Ben Torres, the guard said through his own translator. I am Commander Vex. Her Majesty Queen Kira awaits you in the Crystal Hall. Please follow. The walk through the city amazed Ben. Everything was made of living crystal that seemed to grow from the ground itself. Buildings curved and twisted like natural formations, but with perfect symmetry. Gardens of singing flowers lined the pathways, their melodies creating a symphony of welcome. Zephyrian citizens stopped their activities to watch Ben pass. Some pointed with their thin, graceful arms. Others clicked in rapid conversations he couldn't understand. But none seemed hostile. Their large eyes held curiosity, not fear. Your city is incredible, Ben said to Commander Vex as they climbed a spiraling ramp toward the palace. Thank you, Vex replied. We grow our homes from the living stone. It takes many seasons, but the result lasts for generations. Your human buildings, from what we have observed, are constructed quickly but do not endure. Different approaches, Ben said. Both have their advantages. We build quickly when we need to adapt fast. You build for permanence and beauty. Vex's compound eyes focused on Ben with what seemed like interest. An unusual response. Most species compare our methods unfavorably to their own. Why would I do that? I'm here to learn, not to judge. The Crystal Hall stood at the heart of the palace complex. Its walls were transparent, allowing natural light to fill the vast space with rainbow patterns. At the center, on a throne that looked like it had been carved from a single massive emerald, sat Queen Kira. Ben had seen images of Zephyrian royalty before, but nothing had prepared him for meeting Queen Kira in person. She was larger than the other Zephyrians, nearly 3 meters tall, with iridescent wings that caught the light like stained glass. Her compound eyes were the most striking feature, they seemed to hold ancient wisdom and sharp intelligence. Around her stood dozens of court officials, advisors, and guards. The atmosphere was formal but not hostile. Ben could feel the weight of history in this moment. This was the first time a human had stood before the Zephyrian throne. Commander Vex announced Ben's arrival in the musical Zephyrian language. Queen Kira rose from her throne and descended the crystal steps. As she approached, Ben noticed she moved with surprising grace despite her size. "Welcome, Ben Torres of the human species," Queen Kira said. Her voice was melodic, with clicks and whistles that the translator converted to words. "I am Kira, Queen of the Zephyrian Empire. You have traveled far to reach our world." Ben bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, it is an honor to meet you. I bring greetings from humanity and the Galactic Council. We hope this meeting will be the first step toward friendship between our peoples." "Friendship is a concept we value highly," Queen Kira replied. "But it must be earned through understanding and trust. Tell me, Ben Torres, what do you know of Zephyrian culture?" "I know that your people value harmony with nature, collective decision-making, and the preservation of knowledge," Ben said. "I know that you've remained isolated not from fear, but from a desire to protect your way of life from outside interference. I respect that choice, even if it has kept us apart." Queen Kira's head tilted slightly, a gesture Ben interpreted as interest. Most diplomatic envoys begin by listing the benefits their species can offer us. You speak instead of respect for our choices. This is unusual. Respect is the foundation of any meaningful relationship, Ben said. Before we can offer anything to each other, we must first understand each other. As they talked, Ben noticed Queen Kira touching a device at her throat. Her responses were becoming slightly delayed, and she seemed to be struggling with certain concepts. The translator was clearly having problems. "Your Majesty," Ben said carefully, "is your translation device functioning properly?" Queen Kira's compound eyes dimmed with what Ben recognized as embarrassment. "The device is old and was not designed for extended conversation with human speech patterns. I apologize for any confusion in our communication." Without hesitation, Ben reached up and unclasped his own universal translator. "Please, use mine. It was specifically programmed for this meeting and should work much better." He stepped forward and, with gentle movements, placed the translator around Queen Kira's neck. The silver chain settled against her carapace like a necklace. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Every Zephyrian in the hall gasped in unison. Some dropped to the ground in what looked like prostration. Others began clicking rapidly in their musical language. Commander Vex's eyes went wide with shock. Ben froze, realizing he had clearly made some kind of cultural mistake. But what kind? Queen Kira stood perfectly still for several seconds. Then, to Ben's surprise, she began to laugh. The sound was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, musical and warm. "You do realize that means marriage, right?" Queen Kira said with a chuckle, her voice now clear through Ben's translator. Ben felt his face grow hot with embarrassment. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty. I had no idea. I was just trying to help with the communication problem. The placing of a personal ornament around the neck of a Zephyrian royal is our most sacred marriage ritual," Queen Kira explained, still sounding amused rather than angry. "In our culture, it represents the joining of two minds in perfect trust and understanding." The court officials were still clicking frantically among themselves. Ben could see panic in some of their eyes. He realized this could be a diplomatic disaster that would end any chance of an alliance between humans and Zephyrians. But instead of panic, Ben felt curious. This was exactly the kind of cultural learning opportunity he had hoped for. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "could you tell me more about Zephyrian marriage customs? I want to understand what I've accidentally done, and what it means for both of us." Queen Kira's compound eyes sparkled with what Ben was beginning to recognize as amusement. "You are not afraid. You do not wish to flee from this situation. Why would I be afraid of learning about your culture?" Ben asked. "Yes, I made a mistake, but mistakes are how we learn. If you're willing to teach me, I'm willing to listen." The clicking from the court officials grew quieter. Ben sensed they were as surprised by his response as Queen Kira seemed to be. "In Zephyrian culture," Queen Kira began, walking slowly around Ben as she spoke, marriage is not primarily about romantic love as humans understand it. It is a partnership of minds, a commitment to shared goals and mutual support. The placing of a personal item around the neck symbolizes trust. You are literally placing something precious to you in the care of your partner. That's actually quite beautiful, Ben said sincerely. A marriage based on mental compatibility and shared purpose sounds very practical. You think so? Queen Kira asked, stopping in front of him again. On Earth, our strongest relationships are often built on exactly those foundations: mutual respect, shared values, and trust. The romantic love comes and goes, but partnership endures. Queen Kira was quiet for a long moment, her compound eyes studying Ben's face. The entire court seemed to be holding its breath. Most off-world species who learn of our customs find them strange or primitive, she said finally. They focus on the physical differences between our species and dismiss our social structures as inferior. Then they're missing the point entirely, Ben replied. Social structures develop to serve the needs of the people who create them. Your marriage customs obviously work for Zephyrian society, or they wouldn't have survived for centuries. Indeed, Queen Kira said. And what of your human marriage customs? How do they differ? Ben thought for a moment, aware that his answer could be very important. Human marriages traditionally begin with romantic love, but the successful ones evolve into partnerships much like what you describe. We make vows to support each other through difficulties, to work together toward common goals, and to honor each other's needs. The most successful human couples are best friends as well as romantic partners. Interesting, Queen Kira mused. Perhaps our species are not so different in what we value in relationships. Commander Vex stepped forward and spoke rapidly in Zephyrian. Queen Kira replied in the same language, her tone patient but firm. Ben's translator picked up fragments, something about protocol, tradition, and unprecedented situations. Commander Vex reminds me that by accepting your inadvertent proposal, I would be creating a situation without precedent in Zephyrian history, Queen Kira explained to Ben. No royal has ever married outside our species. And I remind Her Majesty, Vex said, switching to the common language, that the human had no knowledge of our customs. The ritual, while performed correctly, was not performed with intent. Ben looked between them, understanding that this was a crucial moment. Whatever he said next could determine the future of human-Zephyrian relations. Your Majesty, he said, I may have performed your marriage ritual by accident, but I did so with genuine respect and care for your well-being. If honoring this commitment would strengthen the relationship between our peoples, then I'm willing to learn what it means to be a partner in the Zephyrian tradition. The clicking from the court officials stopped entirely. Queen Kira's wings fluttered slightly, a sign of surprise, Ben guessed. You would accept a marriage bond with a Zephyrian queen, she asked. Knowing that it would change your life completely? That you would become part of our royal court, subject to our laws and customs? Ben thought about his answer carefully. This wasn't just about diplomacy anymore, this was about two individuals from different worlds trying to find common ground. Your Majesty, I came here hoping to build a bridge between our species. If accepting this bond creates that bridge, then yes, I would consider it an honor. But only if you believe it would be beneficial for both of us and both our peoples. Queen Kira walked to her throne and sat down, her compound eyes never leaving Ben's face. The silence stretched for several minutes while she considered. Finally, she spoke. Ben Torres of the human species, your response to an impossible situation has impressed me greatly. Rather than fear or rejection, you offer curiosity and respect. Rather than seeking to escape an obligation you never intended to make, you seek to understand its meaning and honor its importance to my people. She stood again and approached him. I am willing to explore what such a partnership might mean, not just for us personally, but for our species. If you are truly willing to learn our ways, and to share your human perspectives with us, perhaps we can create something unprecedented and valuable. Ben felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was far beyond anything he had expected when he left Earth. I'm willing, Your Majesty. But I think we should be honest with both our peoples about how this came about, and what we hope to achieve. Agreed, Queen Kira said. This will be a marriage of minds and purposes, a diplomatic alliance made personal. If it succeeds, it could be a model for cooperation between our species. The sun was beginning to set outside the crystal hall, painting the walls with warm orange and pink light. Ben realized that in the space of a few hours, his entire life had changed direction. So, he said with a slight smile, what exactly does it mean to be married to a Zephyrian queen? Queen Kira's laugh filled the hall once again. That, my new partner, will be a learning experience for both of us. The morning sun cast rainbow patterns through the crystal walls of Ben's new quarters in the royal palace. 3 days had passed since his accidental marriage proposal to Queen Kira, and he was still adjusting to his new life on Viridian Prime. A gentle chiming sound announced a visitor. Ben opened the door to find Queen Kira standing outside, her compound eyes bright with what he was learning to recognize as excitement. "Good morning, Ben," she said. "I hope you slept well. Today I would like to show you something special about our world." Ben smiled. Each day brought new discoveries about Zephyrian culture, and Queen Kira seemed genuinely interested in his human perspective on everything she showed him. "I'm ready for whatever you have planned, Your Majesty," he said. "Please, just call me Kira when we are alone," she replied. "We are partners now, remember?" They walked together through the palace gardens, where the singing flowers created a gentle melody that changed with the morning breeze. Ben had learned that the Zephyrians cultivated these musical plants not just for beauty, but because the different tones helped them communicate complex emotions and ideas. "Tell me about human gardens," Kira said as they paused beside a fountain made of living crystal. "Do you also grow plants for purposes beyond simple beauty?" "We do," Ben replied. "Some humans grow vegetables and herbs for food and medicine. Others create gardens designed to attract butterflies and birds. We have therapeutic gardens in our hospitals because we discovered that being around plants helps humans heal faster." "Fascinating," Kira said. "We have noticed that humans seem to form strong emotional connections with other life forms. This is unusual among the species we have observed from a distance." "It's one of our strengths," Ben agreed. "We find it easy to care about things that are different from us. Sometimes that gets us into trouble, but it also helps us build relationships." They continued walking until they reached an area of the palace Ben had never seen before. Here, the crystal walls were covered with intricate patterns that seemed to move and shift as they watched. "This is our memory hall," Kira explained. "Every important event in Zephyrian history is recorded in these living crystals. They store not just facts and dates, but emotions, thoughts, and sensory experiences." Ben approached one of the walls, watching the patterns dance beneath his fingers. "It's like a library that preserves complete experiences rather than just information." "Exactly," Kira said, sounding pleased that he understood so quickly. "Watch this." She touched a specific pattern on the wall, and suddenly Ben found himself experiencing a memory that wasn't his own. He was seeing through Zephyrian compound eyes, feeling the joy of a colony working together to build their first crystal city. The sense of unity and shared purpose was overwhelming. When the vision ended, Ben took a shaky breath. "That was incredible. You actually preserved the emotional experience of historical events." "Yes," Kira said. "We believe that understanding how our ancestors felt is just as important as knowing what they did. But this technology has a limitation that has frustrated us for generations." "What kind of limitation?" Kira's wings drooped slightly. "We can only record Zephyrian experiences. We have tried for centuries to capture the thoughts and feelings of other species, but our crystal technology is specifically attuned to our neural patterns." Ben studied the shifting patterns on the walls, his mind already working on the problem. "What if you didn't try to capture other species' experiences directly? What if you recorded how those experiences affected Zephyrians who interacted with them?" Kira's compound eyes widened. "Explain." "Well, right now I'm having an emotional reaction to seeing your memory hall," Ben said. I'm feeling amazed, curious, and honored that you've shared this with me. If you recorded your own experience of showing this place to me, including your observations of my reactions, you would have a record of human-Zephyrian interaction from a Zephyrian perspective. That is a brilliant solution, Kira said. We could build an archive of cross-species experiences without needing to adapt our technology for alien neural patterns. They spent the next hour discussing the possibilities. Ben suggested ways to structure the recordings to capture maximum information about other species' perspectives, while Kira explained how the crystal memory system could be expanded to accommodate new types of experiences. Your human approach to problem solving is very different from ours, Kira observed as they left the memory hall. We tend to seek perfect solutions that address every aspect of a challenge. You look for practical solutions that work well enough to move forward. Both approaches have value, Ben said. Sometimes you need the perfect solution, and sometimes you need to act quickly with a good enough solution and improve it later. This is why our partnership has potential, Kira said. Your human adaptability complements our Zephyrian thoroughness. That afternoon, Kira took Ben to meet her council of advisors. The council chamber was a circular room where 12 senior Zephyrians sat on crystal perches arranged around the central space. Ben had been nervous about this meeting, knowing that not all of them approved of their queen's sudden marriage to an alien. Honorable council members, Kira began, as you know, my partnership with Ben Torres represents a new chapter in Zephyrian history. Today I want to share with you some of the insights this collaboration has already produced. She explained Ben's solution to the memory hall problem and outlined several other innovations they had discussed. Ben was surprised to see that even the most skeptical council members seemed intrigued by the possibilities. Counselor Zara, the eldest member of the group, spoke first. These ideas have merit, Your Majesty. But what assurance do we have that the human suggestions serve Zephyrian interests rather than human ones? Ben cleared his throat. Counselor Zara, may I respond to that? You may speak, she said, though her tone remained cool. I understand your concern, Ben said. You're right to question my motives. But consider this, I could have simply completed my diplomatic mission and returned to human space. Instead, I've committed to living among your people and learning your ways. If I were acting purely in human interests, would I have made that choice? Perhaps, said Counselor Wren, you seek to infiltrate our society for intelligence purposes. If that were my goal, Ben replied, I would try to blend in and avoid attention. Marrying your queen is hardly a subtle approach for a spy. Several council members clicked in what Ben was learning to recognize as amusement. The human makes a reasonable point, admitted Counselor Voss. His actions suggest genuine commitment to building a relationship between our species. Moreover, Kira added, Ben has already provided us with valuable insights that could benefit our entire civilization. The memory hall expansion is just one example. He has also suggested improvements to our communication systems and agricultural techniques. Tell us about these agricultural suggestions, requested Counselor Kren, who Ben knew was responsible for food production across the empire. Ben spent the next 30 minutes explaining how human crop rotation techniques could be adapted to Zephyrian farming methods, and how certain earth plants might be compatible with Viridian Prime soil chemistry. He also described hydroponic systems that could increase food production in areas where the crystal technology couldn't support traditional Zephyrian growing methods. By the end of the session, even the most skeptical council members seemed convinced that Ben's presence could benefit their civilization. Your Majesty, said Counselor Zara, I believe this partnership may indeed serve Zephyrian interests. I propose we support further collaboration between human and Zephyrian knowledge systems. The formal vote was unanimous. That evening, Ben and Kira sat together on a balcony overlooking the capital city. The crystal buildings glowed softly in the twilight, and the singing flowers filled the air with gentle music. Today went well, Ben said. Your council seems willing to give our partnership a chance. They are practical beings, Kira replied. When they see that something works, they support it. You impress them with your knowledge and your willingness to share it freely. I'm learning as much as I'm sharing, Ben said. Maybe more. Zephyrian approaches to city planning, energy management, and social organization are incredibly sophisticated. And yet you see ways to improve them, Kira observed. Not improve exactly, Ben corrected. Adapt. Every solution works best in its original context. But when you combine different approaches, you sometimes discover possibilities that neither side could achieve alone. 3 weeks later, the first practical results of their collaboration became visible throughout the capital city. New communication crystals, enhanced with human-inspired modifications, allowed clearer contact with remote Zephyrian colonies. Agricultural zones using adapted human techniques were producing 20% higher yields than traditional methods. Most importantly, construction had begun on a new wing of the memory hall specifically designed to preserve interspecies experiences. Zephyrian historians were already recording detailed accounts of their interactions with Ben, creating the foundation for what Kira called the Archive of Unity. Word of these successes had spread beyond Viridian Prime. The Galactic Council was requesting permission to send additional human representatives to observe the collaboration. Other alien species were expressing interest in establishing their own relationships with the Zephyrian Empire. We have accomplished more in 1 month than I hoped to achieve in a year, Kira told Ben as they reviewed reports from across the Empire. It's not just our partnership, Ben replied. It's the willingness of your people to embrace new ideas and the strength of your existing systems to support them. Humans are adaptable, but Zephyrians are thorough. Together, we can implement changes that are both innovative and sustainable. Captain Rosa Chen arrived on Viridian Prime the following week, leading a small diplomatic team from Earth. Ben met her at the spaceport, eager to show her what they had accomplished. You look different, Rosa observed as they walked toward the palace. Happier, maybe. More confident. I feel like I've found my purpose, Ben admitted. This partnership with Kira and the Zephyrian Empire isn't just good diplomacy. It's a model for how different species can work together. The reports we've received on Earth have been remarkable, Rosa said. The agricultural improvements alone could help dozens of colonies that are struggling with food production. And the communication technology applications are fascinating. Wait until you see the Memory Hall project, Ben said. Kira has already recorded our first month of experiences together. Future researchers will be able to study exactly how two species learn to collaborate. That evening, there was a formal banquet to welcome the human diplomatic team. Ben sat beside Queen Kira at the head table, still amazed by how natural their partnership had become. They worked together seamlessly now, each understanding the other's strengths and perspectives. During the meal, Captain Chen stood to address the gathered Zephyrians and humans. 6 months ago, Ben Torres left Earth with a simple mission, to establish diplomatic contact with the Zephyrian Empire, she began. I don't think any of us expected him to become a bridge between our civilizations in such a personal way. She raised her glass. To Queen Kira and Ben Torres, whose accidental marriage has created an intentional alliance that benefits both our peoples. The toast was echoed in both English and Zephyrian, the two languages blending into a harmony that seemed to symbolize everything they had achieved together. Later that night, Ben and Kira stood alone on the palace balcony again, looking out over their city that now glowed with both traditional crystal light and new human-inspired energy systems. Do you ever regret your decision? Kira asked quietly. You could have returned to Earth and resumed your normal life. Ben considered the question seriously. My life on Earth was good, he said finally. But this is better. I'm part of something larger than myself, something that's making a real difference. And I've gained a partner whose wisdom and friendship I value more than I can express. I feel the same way, Kira said. When I first agreed to meet with the human diplomatic mission, I expected a brief, formal exchange. I never imagined I would find someone who could understand both my responsibilities as a queen and my curiosities as an individual. 6 months later, Ben stood before a joint session of the Galactic Council and the Zephyrian High Court. The formal alliance between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire had been finalized, but more importantly, their collaboration had inspired similar partnerships between other species. The success of this alliance, Ben told the assembled delegates, proves that our differences are not barriers to cooperation. They are opportunities for innovation. When species with different strengths work together with mutual respect and shared goals, the results exceed what either could achieve alone. Queen Kira rose to speak as well. The human concept of adaptability has revolutionized our approach to governance and technology. In return, our Zephyrian emphasis on thorough planning and sustainable development has helped humanity establish more stable colonies and more effective long-term projects. The formal presentations concluded, but Ben knew the real work was just beginning. Representatives from dozens of species had requested guidance on establishing their own collaborative partnerships. The accidental marriage that had started as a diplomatic crisis was becoming a model for interspecies cooperation throughout the galaxy. That evening, as Ben and Kira reviewed requests for assistance from various worlds, she looked up from her crystal tablet and smiled. "You know," she said, "when I told you that placing a translator around my neck meant marriage, I thought it might be the end of productive negotiations." Ben laughed. "Instead, it was the beginning of the most productive partnership either of our species has ever known." "Indeed," Kira agreed. "Perhaps the best relationships are the ones we never expected to find." Outside their window, the first stars were appearing in the darkening sky. Some of those points of light represented worlds where other species were now working together, inspired by an accidental proposal and a willingness to turn misunderstanding into opportunity. Ben Torres had come to Viridian Prime hoping to build a bridge between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. Instead, he had discovered that sometimes the strongest bridges are built not from careful planning, but from the courage to embrace unexpected possibilities and the wisdom to honor the customs of others. His partnership with Queen Kira had proven that marriage, in any culture, works best when it's based on mutual respect, shared purpose, and the daily choice to build something greater together than either partner could achieve alone.